If we want to eradicate white supremacy once and for all, first we need to understand its history and the psychology behind it. White supremacy can be traced back to a combination of two major turning points in human history: colonization and the scientific revolution. When Europeans started to colonize the world around the 16th century, they ruthlessly killed and enslaved every indigenous population that they came across. The indigenous tribes were no match against European weaponry and power, and the Europeans concluded that if these tribes were so easily conquered, it must be because they were somehow inferior in power and intelligence. This boom in colonization happened to coincide with the European Age of Enlightenment, a time when European philosophers and thinkers were trying to explain the world through science instead of religion. One of the first things they tried to explain was this experience of superiority over other indigenous cultures. They wondered if there was a hierarchical order to nature based on race. They wondered if light-skinned people were perhaps more evolved than dark-skinned people. And just like that, a body of work called racial biology was born. Racial biology was basically an attempt to classify humanity as a hierarchy of inferior and superior races, with white men, naturally, at the top. Even though the ideas behind racial biology were eventually debunked by science, a lot of those ideas form the basis of modern-day white supremacy. It's crazy to think that the KKK can be traced back to who happened to have the biggest weapons 500 years ago. So how does white supremacy find an audience in today's world? Well, studies show that the country's changing demographics are fueling subconscious fears in white populations. Simply put, a lot of white people feel threatened by diversity. And one of the main ways that white supremacy attracts new members is by using that fear as a catalyst to create a sense of purpose, a sense of identity, and a sense of community. As long as we have people that lack a sense of identity, community, and purpose, and are threatened by diversity, white supremacy will continue to find a home in people's hearts. So what can you do? Brené Brown says that if we don't own our history, then our history will own us. White supremacy is a part of American history, and we need to own it and fully understand it before we can eradicate it. Practically speaking, you can do a couple of things. Number one, own your privilege. These are the unearned advantages that you were born with. Things like growing up in a stable home, being born in a wealthy country. These are things you didn't earn through hard work. Acknowledging your privilege fosters gratitude instead of entitlement, and it makes it harder for hateful ideologies to enter our communities. Number two, support organizations like Life After Hate, who are actively working to transition people out of hate groups by fostering their own sense of identity, community, and purpose. White supremacists need violence and conflict to validate their fear of diversity. This is why they usually plan rallies in ultra-liberal communities. They want confrontation. They want violence. So let's not feed their fear. Instead, let's lead by example by creating our own sense of collective identity, community, and purpose. If we all lead with empathy and compassion in our own lives, we can help eradicate white supremacy from our culture once and for all. Peace.